Hi everybody, welcome back. This is Laura Stevens for Design with Nature Week 6. We're going to talk about the assessments from last week later, but right now we'll go into the abstracted design principles for the second time because it's a pretty difficult phenomena to understand, going from the biology and abstracting the actually what is happening, the forms, the processes, or the systems from nature, and translating that to design. So we're going to start and just do it again. You can either take your ADP that you did last week or 2 weeks ago, or you can try a new one. So what I would like to ask you to do is to stop the video every time you would like to work on your ADP or work on your diverging, and just stop the video and then start it again when you're finished. I'll give you a few cues for when I think you should stop and do the exercise, and for the rest it's up to you. Okay, so we go back to the beginning. How does the chosen function work? You've already described the strategy and the mechanism in your bio brainstorm. The better you have described this and the clearer you are and that you understand it, the better you will be at visualizing and labeling what is happening. So where are we in the course? We have done the scoping, and we've defined the context, we've identified the function we're going to work on in each team, integrated life's principles, hopefully as design brief requirements, and you have discovered natural models in the bio brainstorm. And now we're going to do abstracted design principles again. Okay, so today's program is finalizing the abstracted design principles into their translated engineering principles. Are your diagrams and your text, are they superficial or are they deep? Do people really understand them when you've explained them to them? And show your roommates or show your family if you're at home. So you can just show it to them and say, okay, can you tell me what's going on there? And if they totally don't understand it, then maybe you haven't been clear enough. So that's the first thing you need to do, is look back to your strategy and your mechanism and ask yourself, is this clear? You could also pair up with another teammate and give them your ADP, and they give you yours, and then try to see if you understood it. So without any verbal explanation, see if you can just understand it. As you can see, we'll repeat the exercise from week 4. And if you already have an ADP that you're happy with, let's go through this again and see if you can get it a little clearer. And otherwise, if you're really happy with it, you can go and choose a new organism and start all over again. As you know, you found some, hopefully, some kind of diagram within the scientific research journal articles, and you'll be able to use that as your starting point. You get a description of what's happening and some arrows and a really simple diagram. And then they explain it a little bit more. This is all these top 2 pictures. Those are from the scientific research. So the data that you found on the prairie dogs, for example. And then you can take almost the same idea and draw it again. So this is the biological strategy principle diagram. So you are explaining the biological strategy here. This is what the prairie dogs do to create the airflow within their burrows. The wind will go over the top and it will create a suction from the lower entrance through the cavity and out through the top. This is called the Bernoulli's principle, as we talked about before. Bernoulli's principle, sorry, especially for Italians. And so you are explaining the shape, actually, of what is causing this reaction. The shape of and the form of the burrow is causing this reaction. So once you've drawn that and you've described it in text as simply as possible, then it's time to go to the next step. But first, stop the video and draw the biological diagram describing the principle of what is happening. Take about 15 minutes for this and then start again. Okay, once you have the biological strategy clear in your minds, then you can go on to step 2. This is describing the principle of what is happening without the biological terms. So here you can see prairie dogs build their mounds. You take that out and you talk about, what is this? Okay, we could say these are, every abstracted design principle could be different, but you could say here, open ventilation channels at alternating heights. Create the suction and ventilation within structure where there is an increase of flow and a decrease of pressure between the openings. So actually you're just explaining what you already found out here in the biology, and you are explaining that again without the biological terms in a language that an engineer and a design engineer can understand. So again, with this step, stop the video and take 15 minutes and really try to highlight these words that are definitely the biological terms, and you take them out and you replace them with easy to understand language that are not the biological terms that you could translate into a design. So stop the video again and we'll continue in a moment. Okay, hopefully you have gone on from that abstracted design principle. You've got that clear now. So you've got your text here without the biology, and now it's time to draw the principle that you just described. There could be many interpretations. This is just one interpretation that I came up with when I was thinking for an architectural solution for on a roof. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be on a facade. It could be on the dome, the aircrete dome. It could be in totally different buildings. It's about the principle. So how would you draw the principle that you just described? Again, you will stop the video and take another 15 minutes at least until you are perfectly happy with what you drew again. And then we'll continue in a moment. Okay, back again for step 4. So now it's time to share with somebody in your team. So you pair up and you show the improved abstracted design principle to someone else in your team. Then it will be time to not say anything else, but just give it to them and let them explain your diagram to you and how it might be used in design. So, do they really understand what's happening here? Can another designer understand your diagram? I'm really curious to find out how many of you have been able to stop the video and then call one of your teammates and trade. So, stop the video and call another teammate and start trading. Okay. Hopefully all of you are at the point where you are satisfied with your abstracted design principle and you have some idea of what's going on in that principle. So you've got the diagram up here. It's just a drawing, and you have like zoomed in for what's happening within each of the sections. Try to make this as clear as possible. You can go from one large drawing and zoom into a close-up area and then zoom in even further. Try to figure out what is the best way to visualize your diagram of what is happening. How is the function being carried out? Or the multiple functions are being carried out, hopefully, if you're able to reach a system. And then you start to think, okay, what ideas can you think up individually? So you go back, you're not talking with your teammate anymore. First, think of as many things you can think of. How could I put this? And think of different scales. Go to macro scales and micro scales, huge landscape scales, and then zooming into a small, the size of what could fit in your hand, a small product, and see what kind of ideas you can come up, and alternate on different pages of your field guide to come up with different kinds of ideas you can see this was an idea of a bike path. That's one scale here, a bike path that's partially underground, kind of like the burrows. And here you can see this is what I call my biomimicry brick with the side of a cactus. So, and the channels of water going up and down through the fluids could be carried through this brick. So try to think in those different terms of different scales where you could just come up with lots of different ideas. And then you share that with your partner in your team and see if any family members can help you start to ideate. And it's just to help you find out if other people really understand your abstracted design principle. Can you use this as a starting point for your design? If you've got this at the top of your flip over sheet, for example, and then you start ideating with that, and you have all these different people around the table, will they be able to understand your diagram enough to put it into ideas? If you've done that successfully, if you've drawn the abstracted design principle successfully, and it's pretty self-explanatory, then that makes it a lot easier for others to start ideating with it. Otherwise, you have to add a lot of text and explain and explain and explain. So that's why I've repeated this exercise, because it's very important that your abstracted design principle can be a starting point for the designers as you go along the process. So I wish you luck with your first ideation, and you can see where that will bring you. And then let's see, when you go on past that, you've got some ideas. So I'm not going to ask you to stop the video. You know that by now. You can stop the video. What ideas pop out? Let's say you use one abstracted design principle, and everybody in the team comes up with ideas about that. And then you go to the next teammate and use their abstracted design principle as a starting point, and you do the exercise all over again. Let's see how many ideas you can come up with by the time our classroom starts. Has each abstracted design principle been clear? And what would you need to change to make it work? Or would you have to redo it all over again? But you can go back to the first slide and start all over again. But just imagine making it as a prototype. Would this be possible to make your ideas as a prototype, and would this actually work? So first you get out a whole bunch of crazy ideas, and then start thinking, can I actually make this? And will it do the same function that I started out to do? And does that emulate the function that the organism did? I mean, have you kept it clear throughout the process? Have you been true to the organism throughout the process? This is the time to check that. And it's okay if you go veer off in different tangents and come up with different ideas. Sometimes that's also okay to have that as an inspiration. But right now, let's see, just by checking your ideas and seeing if any of them are true to the organism as it was. Okay, we'll go into even more diverging next time. But right now, as soon as class starts, we can wrap up questions. And I would really appreciate it if you link to the survey and answer the questions again, because that really helps us improve it. And feel free to add your comments and suggestions if you need more time for something, or you would like me to do something else, or us to do something else, then feel free to put that in the survey now. But especially important to just fill it in and see how far you get. I'm really curious to see how much the small diverging exercise helped you really come up with ideas. So have you been able to figure ideas that are based on form, or on the process, or on the system? And then I'd like you to think about what helped you do that. Was there any part of the lesson that helped you do that? Or was it a past lesson that helped you do that? Was it the bio-brainstorm? Or was it just sketching in class? Or maybe one of the eyesights? Hopefully somebody has done one of the eyesights exercises. So just let me know. Give me the feedback. I can take it. And we'll get back to you as soon as the class term starts. Okay. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.